We talked a lot this past offseason about the new additions to the team, but it's been two returning players really leaving their mark on the offense. Nothing says good college football like a good rivalry, but unfortunately for the Red Raiders, this rivalry hasn't been too kind for them. And just like that, the student becomes a teacher as Sonny Cumbie and Texas Tech established early on in the game what they wanted to do, and it turns out it was the perfect game plan to get the best of his former head coach Mike Leach and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. It's been an unusual season throughout all of college football, but it's been really interesting to watch the Big 12 over the last couple of weeks. Hey guys, I'm here in Gordon Wood Stadium with post head coach Michael Pittman. Coach, this one was a challenging one, but you guys pulled through, got that victory. How's it feel? Texas Tech is searching for a new women's head basketball coach after former coach Marlene Stallings was terminated for fostering what is being called a toxic environment with the team. Most of the time we're talking about the game of football, we talk about offense, we talk about defense, but somehow special teams gets left out of that conversation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "I'm tired of marching. Tired of marching for something that should have been mine at birth." Sadly enough, minorities continue to march today for those exact same things, equal rights and justice for people like me, and even some of your favorite athletes, including Texas Tech stars. Here in Ropes Eagle Stadium in Ropesville, and just like most of the games Pete talked about earlier in the newscast, this battle here between Ropes and Lockney will be determined in the trenches, starting with the offensive and defensive line. But for the Eagles, they may have one of the biggest trench warriors on their roster, one who's been fighting all his life.
I told myself I was going to keep going, but I had a thought in the back of my mind, hey, might not be able to do it this much longer, but here I am. It's been an uphill battle for Kai Collins since he was just 6 months old. His mother, Lisa Anderson, said that's when he began losing his fingernails and having problems with his skin. On his 4th birthday, his life changed forever, as they were told he wouldn't live past the age of 12.
It was horrible. And it was a Friday. So I had all weekend to question what was happening. I was in Chuck E. Cheese. They told me to get a napkin and a pen and write down this condition, which was dyskeratosis congenita. And I went home and I Googled because that's the only thing I knew about it. And it took me all weekend. I read every single piece of literature they had on him because I was so afraid of him, of not knowing what his future was going to hold.
Anderson learned that only 1 in a million children will have dyskeratosis congenita, and it would affect not only his nails and skin, but also his hair, and could cause bone marrow failure. I really didn't know about it, but I remember seeing my mom crying, so I was really confused about it, and then later on I realized, this is a big deal.
It was very, very hard, and it took a good year to actually even be able to talk about it because it was so hard to come to grips. I kept thinking I was going to wake up at any moment, and he's so strong. He's so tough. He's a fighter.
Determined to help him overcome the odds, she signed him up for flag football, and it was a perfect match. But the fight wasn't over. At the age of 7, Collins had to stop playing for nearly 2 years due to issues with his bone marrow. And a couple years later, his condition caused a scar to form on his cornea. To help him see better, doctors fitted Collins with a contact, but an infection soon developed and resulted in a parasite eating his cornea, which caused him to begin losing sight in his left eye.
It was actually more scary because, we thought that we had already battled this disease. And then the same year, we find out that he's got this parasite, and we had maybe a week to get ready to kill that cornea. So it seemed like it just was a domino effect, and it seemed like it was so hard to deal with. But he was such a warrior. He just went straight through it. He didn't care, and it kind of fuels you to want better, because if he's fighting through it, then I can't be the weakest link.
To this day, Collins doesn't talk much about his conditions. Even while going to his routine checkups off the field, he lets his play on the field do all of his talking.
When I would think of it, I just want to prove people wrong, you know what I mean? Like usually when you tell people they think you can't do it or they ask if you can do it, I'm normal. Like I can do anything I want.
You would never notice it. Unless he said something, you wouldn't notice it because he doesn't prefer one side or the other. He plays both sides of the line. He plays tackle, he plays guard. He's even snapped.
He's so tough. He's so strong. And I think he just wants to be normal. That's what's so sad. And I think he is normal. I mean, he plays as much as he can. He is very good academically. Ropes is amazing. And everyone has accepted him as just normal, even though if they only knew he was very, very rare.
And beyond his bond with his coaches and teammates, he's always had his biggest supporter right by his side.
We are very close. I think more than most moms and sons are. Just because we have had to travel to Washington, D.C. to see specialists. We've he was a kid's kid with Kid Craddock in the morning. So they took us to Disneyland. We've gone so many places, just him and I. And I was always a single mom, so it was always him and I. But I think we have a stronger bond because we had to face these abnormalities and these difficult times.
Definitely stronger. Like, we've been through so much, like NIH, we've been there a couple times, surgeries. It's just, I don't know, I just trust her and everything, you know what I mean?